Okay. Hey, Mr. Todd Medina. Welcome
Mhm.
to the Jill Butler Experience. My very first podcast with a guest is featuring none other than Todd Medina on Soulogy.
Mhm.
And I want you to take a moment and just tell everyone that's new to my page who you are and what you do.
Okay. So, well, I mean, basically, Soulogy is a platform for people to share their stories, their skills and abilities, their emotions, projects, just all kinds of stuff. It's really a place where people can be themselves. I think and they can get past like the point of embarrassment, being in a field of uh, like a playground or a field of consciousness where they can know that they're supported, they won't be made fun of. I mean, this is kind of a human way of describing the energy of it. What I do, I mean, I do a lot of different things, but I think primarily what I do is bring people together, um, and kind of, you know, provide that space. And it's just started from a small Facebook group, back in 2011, 2012, and worked its way up from there. I just saw a post. It was seven, I believe it was 7 years old, and we were celebrating. Um, what was it? I believe it was 13,000 in the group and 7,000 on our other page. So roughly 20,000 people, in that group. That's grown to like 135,000. Those are like the hard numbers. There's we're not on uh, social media since March. We go on, but we don't put our full length broadcast on there. Um, and I would say that before we made the jump, we had probably about 500,000 people reached a week, something like that.
See,
Overall, yeah.
I don't think a lot of people understand, like, this is like a full-blown network now. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you're still jumping into different phases of this, but this is like as mainstream, non-mainstream as you can
Mm, that's
get.
been our goal. Our goal has been to make this mainstream. I was on a show. God, I can't remember anything these days. I think it was yesterday or the day before with Jesse Howe, my friend. He has a show called The Missing Link. He's done 500 episodes.
Wow.
He's been knocked off of YouTube 3 times, and so 2 days ago, he started a new YouTube channel. He multi-streams, and
Mhm, mhm.
I was his first. I was his first guest, just like today, which is kind of funny. But yeah, I was just in talking with him, and just we were talking about what's going on with you know in these platforms. You can call them disclosure, truther, conspiracy, starseed, light worker. They're all kind of like fringe, alternative, even alternative of the alternative. And I was just making a comment to him because I keep a lot of, I keep tabs on quite a few different podcasts and platforms and channels, just over the years. It's just been part of my day to just kind of touch base on different things that are being presented and all that. And I was telling him that it was good to see that some of these bigger platforms that seem to be more open, I'm talking about like Sean Ryan or Danica Patrick,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
some of these that are, big names that have followings, um, but they're expanding their conversations. And it's good to see that they're bringing on the Greg Bradens and the Joe Dispenzas and the
Mhm.
Mateus De Stefanos. But my
Yeah.
thing has always been, we're the to take us mainstream. And when are the Jill Butlers and the Todd Medinas and all the people that come on these shows and talk about their lives, which I never hear this subject matter. out there on these, on the, what I call, at least from a, like a mainstream social media perspective, I don't hear them talking about these subjects. I hear someone like Elizabeth April, I believe is her
Yeah.
name. She does a lot of marketing, she does a lot of promotion, as some other people that I know and have collaborated with that have been on Gaia TV and Ancient Aliens. And I suppose
Yep.
if I really wanted to, I could easily go out there and create the opportunity for myself or for Soulogy to get out there on these platforms. But my point is, if you look at a situation, I'm not throwing shade at Elizabeth April. I don't know her, but I'm just making a point. So I listen to her, and those few like her go on with George Norrie or go on Ancient Aliens or whatever, and talk about all these ET visitations they've had and these past memories and these, downloads and channels and context. Well, the world doesn't understand that everybody that comes on these shows has the same experiences. We've all had different versions. Some don't have the ET visitation scenario or going onto the ship scenario, but we have many other kinds. There's elementals and there's angelics, there's
Yes.
animal
Yes.
experiences, there's
Yes.
nature being experiences, there's mountain being experiences, there's out of body experiences. This is not a clickbait topic, and she and those like her, which is you and me, are not unique in their experience. This is the norm. And so that's kind
Yeah.
of where we're headed now with what we're doing with the network now. Over the second half of this year, there's going to be, it's being implemented slowly, and it's going to have a lot of things in it, including a social media community or social community, which has a combination of a Facebook and a YouTube and an Etsy and a LinkedIn and kind of website all in one that's connected algorithmically,
Mhm. Mhm.
to the all the pieces of the site. That's really a kind of a secondary offering, kind of a gift to the community, because the number one priority is the programming. And so we're just now this week initiating some collaborators that are going to basically match the number of hours that I do every week, which is about 25. These folks are coming in and they're going to originate their own programming, their own shows. And we're going to be doing about 50 hours a week live. And when we're not live, there'll be excerpts from all the shows running in between. And so I'm excited about that. It's going to be, I just talked to our IT people yesterday. We're going to have the app ready. So people will have a
Woohoo!
choice. Yeah, they'll have a choice to watch something of this type of nature, to make it mainstream, I guess. And we're actually going to make it available to everybody. And what I mean by that is if you go on to soulogynetwork.com very shortly, like in the next 3 or 4 weeks, there's going to be basically a channel reel playing, a lot like maybe like you see with TikTok or some of the reels where you can just
Mhm.
flip
Choose.
through and
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
flip through and choose who you want to investigate. We're customizing the whole thing, so we're gonna get the feedback and really build it to the people that engage it and make it as user friendly as possible. That's why we're not in such a rush. And we have one advantage that nobody else has, because there's a lot of people that have tried to do this. And what I'm talking about is they've really tried to create a community with those type of attributes, which I call our secondary attributes, but they don't have a community. So we have a community. So we're bringing a
Yes, you
whole
do.
army
You sure
over,
do.
So, when we unveil this, a person will be able to go and say, "Oh, what's Solji?" And they'll be able to watch this thing. And then that's kind of a landing page where it'll say, "Oh, this is Solji. This is what it's about. And, here's how you subscribe. And here's, it'll have the vital information. If they can subscribe, uh, if they do, you push the next one, which is like home. It has the same channel strip, but the
Mhm.
lives pop in. the lives
Mhm.
pop in when we
Yeah.
go live. And then when the live is over, then the channel strips just keeps, is back there. So yeah, we're just of that mindset that the real mainstream is people like you and people like that you'll have a conversation with on your show, and people that I have conversations with. These are the real stories. They really are. They're the real
Yeah,
stories.
I wanted to get into, speaking of stories, I
Mm,
wanted to get into some of the more transformational experiences that you've had. I'd really love to have you share some of them. Maybe some of them from like the beginning, and maybe then we can get into like some of the more recent energies that I know
mm,
you and Morgan have been working with, some various things, beings and releases, and I
yeah.
definitely want to get into that. I definitely checked out your video that you guys were doing. Wasn't a part of the group that you had, but I definitely know what you guys are up to.
Right.
So I definitely want to get into that as well. But I really wanted to find out, your own personal Todd Medina transformational experiences that you've had that you might would like to share, like with the audience, so like they can understand, like, first and foremost, like you're an experiencer of all kinds of breakthroughs within your story itself, from your past to where you are at this moment. And I just would love to hear more about that kind of stuff from you.
Okay. Well, that's a lot.
you just
uh,
you just pick a
uh,
point that
well,
feels
I mean,
most potent.
there's so many, and again, I hear people that go on to these bigger platforms by the let's just say by the old paradigms uh,
Hmm.
appraisal system, because energetically, I know shows like this are much bigger than shows like that. There's no question in my mind. I've seen it, for many years, and been shown that. But so these are the things I'm talking about. These are things that I may have more occurrences or less occurrences than other people, but there's just a whole lot more to it than what we can remember and what happens in the chronological unfoldment of our lives. But so I mean, I don't know. Most of the people that come on the show, we've done about 4,300 shows. Most of the time, the story is the same. For the, generally speaking, they remember being gifted and awake when they were young. It was suppressed at some point in their childhood or teens. They shut it down because they were not normal. They thought everybody was like them. Um, and then they have, typically some kind of, they go into the system, they go into the matrix, what do you want to call it? They go asleep, they try to fit in. You hear that a lot, where they try to fit in and be normal. And I think a lot of us can relate to that. And then eventually they have, through trauma, a wake up experience. So I can identify with all that. I had experiences, my true wake up experience started May the 30th in 2011 at 1:11 in the morning. Um, up to that point, I had some things occur in my life, um, especially as the years went by over the last 10 or 12 years, because my memories would come back. But I mean, I had, out of body experience. I had 150 to 200 seizures from 15 to 50. And
Whoa.
all of those were, yeah, it's a pretty intricate, complicated kind of thing. I mean, um, in terms of like, and again, it's just like everyone else. It's just that I may have remembered more something or whatever. But I would say that, um, on that day, everything kind of came to a head. It was very biblical. I had an experience with a huge apparition, and the next day, my whole world blew up. And then 6 weeks later, 12 years ago yesterday, actually on 7/7/7, I decided to go out here and live a homeless existence, and figure out what the hell was going on with myself and with the world, and with God and with the universe. And so that started a journey. And I had, in that 2-year period, I had many what I would call divine episodes. Like a lot of people, again, I'm not trying to differentiate myself. Uh, we don't always experience the same thing. We all have different gifts. But I had about 9 primary, really 12, uh, like I would call them spirit guides, come in, and I sat with them, and I had past life memories. And some of my spirit guides were relatives from 3 of them were from previous lives. Um, and so this whole education thing started after a couple of years. I came off the street.
How did they,
Hmm,
not to interrupt you, but
yeah.
how did they come to you, Todd? Like, where were
Um,
you? What were you doing? Like, do you have any like
well,
vivid memories of like how they stepped into your world? Because
hmm,
I know myself, I have very vivid memories of like how I got introduced to Archangel Michael, but
yeah.
I want to hear your story about how some of your guides came to you and like what, you know, how you handled that and how you like merged that in with your understandings, because some people get really like put off. They don't understand these things. So maybe
Yeah.
if you talk about that, you might be able to help somebody feel a little more comfortable with what's happened to them themselves.
Well, I mean, I've had them come a lot of ways. I think I would say probably the first one would have been it would have been May 11th. I'm sorry, May 30th, 2011, 1:11 in the morning. That first one was me in the backyard teaching myself to dance at 49 years old. Uh, I was, my shadow cast on the fence. The fence backed up to a huge cemetery that
Oh,
had
wow.
just bought this section that hadn't put any development in it. So it was all these giant trees. And I was under tremendous pressure. And, there's always a story, right? But anyway, I looked up into uh, I was just about to go upstairs and go to bed with my wife at the time. She had texted me. That's why I knew it was 1:11. See, I didn't even know the significance of 1:11 until, I got started running around with people like you. And then I'm looking back at it. Like even last year, just realizing that it was on 777 that I went out on the streets, because it's all documented, right? It's all documented on my post. Well, I look, I just, I don't know how to explain it, but from a human perspective, I looked up I looked up, I was packing my stuff up, and I looked up, and it looked like there was this giant white something comet star coming right towards me through the trees from the other side of the trees. And I looked up, and all of a sudden I saw, like from here up, and this was in the trees. I can't give you measurements. I could say it was probably, trees that were, oh God, 80 feet high, big trees.
Wow.
And the face that I saw appear very clearly, like you would say, like lightning, that clearly. And it was very much like that. It was a whitish blue border, or that's what was created the outline of it. And it was what I would refer to as my cosmic father, right? It was Jesus.
Wow.
It was Jesus at the time. That's the name I used, right? And I recognized him. And he had these really shiny teeth. So imagine like a lightning type, and it's all lit up. His whole outline of his face, his eyes are peer. And so I looked up at him, and he said, what are you so worried about? And I'm like, and this is the actual conversation. I was like, are you serious? I mean, I've got a wife that's very ill. I got 4 kids in the house. I'm on welfare. I've lost everything that I've ever had. I had a corporate career, a very successful one, a consulting career that was very successful, but lots of stuff was going on. And so it had all culminated. And I was pretty much physically, mentally, and emotionally drained. And
Wow. So you would
so
call it like maybe like rock bottom,
Oh yeah, well,
dark night of the soul.
rock bottom was going to be the next 2 years, which really wasn't rock bottom. It was I coined a phrase for myself back then. That was, I've proven that and I've met many people now that did the same thing. You can lose your mind and find the light at the same time. It's very, very, that, yeah,
I can relate to that story, because I had a year that was pretty intense, and I chose, I shouldn't say that I had to be homeless, because I the person I was with, if I wanted to be with that person, I had to be homeless.
Mm,
So I was choosing the path of being with this person. And so I was choosing being homeless. And so I lived in a shelter for a month. And not the kind of time that you spent in that story, but I
mm,
do know, and I was also pregnant. So I was
mm,
pregnant and living in a shelter, in a state where I knew no one. I had no friends. I had no family. I had no connections except for my partner, and it was a little terrifying. So I can relate to that feeling of like not having anything, but then I really learned myself, and
mhm.
I learned the story of truth. But I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go on with your story. I just wanted to interject that.
Oh, no, no, I'm totally hip with that. Um, yeah, I looked up at him. He says, what are you so worried about? And I said, well, are you kidding me? I mean, like, and he said, I don't know what you're worried about because I've been watching over your family for 2.5 years. And 2.5 years earlier, my wife at the time, who's now passed, had swallowed a full bottle of Tylenol PM and
Oh,
died and came back. And
wow.
and so when he said that, and he was, when I first looked at him, he was kind of laughing like like a parent laughs at a child when a child takes something too serious, and the parent
Right.
knows what the real. Okay, so so whenever he said that to me, it just like a wave of peace and love just literally came down from my crown like plasma. It reminded me a lot of the out of body experiences, the kind of feeling that you have when when you're in that environment.
Yeah.
And so then I was like, wow, and then I look back at him and he says, no, and he's laughing. This time he's really laughing. First time he was kind of like laughing kind of under his breath. And then this time he was like really laughing, but not in not in a evil way but just kind of in a shamanic way. Like, oh, that wasn't it, pal. so so I said to him, my exact words to him were, what's up with that? And he said, well, tomorrow your life's going to flip upside down. Uh, you are the one of the unshakable faith. And now we're going to find out. And he said, you will never be alone and you will never be forsaken. And with
Wow.
that, I mean, with that, it was like he was saying, pass the butter at the dinner table. It was so like, I don't
Nonchalant.
know. Yeah, normal, just like you and I having a conversation. And so with that, the strangest thing, I went upstairs very calmly and went to bed with my family for the last time, because the next day everything blew up. But
Wow.
that would be like the first one. I think the second one, and really, I believe, and I know today now that was me. That's my higher self, or an aspect of me, you could say, or a future self, however you want to put it. But it's still me. There's a connection there. I'm both here and there. And I think the next one, and so even as a small boy, Jesus was always my, and I wasn't religious by Western standards, but Jesus was my guardian angel, you would say. So from there, um, it took a little while. It took about 6 or 7 months. I was having things go on, but they were just on the surface of, man, did that just happen? Did that just happen? And so what ended up happening was about 6 months later, I had a crossroads occurring in my life, and I went for a walk, and 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 I came back and I sat on the bed and I put my hands together and I said, "Can I trust this path?" And when I said that, there was a glass of warm tea in a large tumbler on my side table, and it shattered all over me. Yeah,
Whoa.
and it was Archangel Michael. And he quickly reminded me of the other things that the other ways he had tried to get my attention. And there were
Mhm.
these were the things wrong. Did that just happen? Including a tree splitting in half in that cemetery, almost land. Yeah.
Whoa.
But see, I wasn't confident or present enough to know that these words were coming to me. So anyway, when he shattered the glass, he was like, and I've said this many times, I've only gotten scared 3 times. And and it's never been a scared of like, oh, that's evil, it's going to kill me or something like that. It's more of just the depth of the consciousness that I'm interfacing with. And I would say that on one of those three occasions was Archangel Michael, and it wasn't even that one. so so anyway,
No,
he
Archangel Michael is a force to be reckoned
oh
with in the
he's
sense of
yeah
it. I've seen a 70-something-year-old man cower from when Archangel Michael came through me once. It almost scared me that I
yeah
scared someone else, because it was so the way that the person acted when they felt his energy. It was unbelievable.
yeah
Unbelievable.
yeah. It's pretty profound. And he showed himself many times with me, and was he was like, he was like my partner, man. I mean, it for because I went through some really intense things, including getting incarcerated, getting in fights, lots of I was in the streets, I was in the hood, I was doing things to survive, and so there was a lot of
So
uh
I guess I want to ask you,
mhm.
when did you first of all, like, how did you cope with all these things that were like extraordinary to you? Like, did you speak to other people about it? Did you have any support? Did you just accept that this was like going on for you, but you kept it a secret? Like, how did you
No.
handle these experiences?
So that happened in December of 2011. So that would have happened 6, 7 months after the Spirit Walk started, or 6 months. I went through the holidays, popped out into 2012, and I put myself in uh, a hotel room for 10 nights. I don't know where I got the money, but I had been sleeping in my car, and I went to the mat with a lot of demons, and the white hats were always there, but I went through the demons, and it was pretty incredible. And I came out of that, and I met God. I forget. Did you ask me something? What did you ask me?
So I asked you, like,
Oh, I
how
got
did
you.
you like
Yeah, yeah,
reconcile it, and
yeah,
like
yeah.
did you have any support?
I told my son that the next day after I had the incident with the Cosmic Christ. Okay, uh, and so yeah, I was talking about it, and as soon as I hit the street, I wasn't writing about it, but I was writing about the soul, and I was writing about my journey, and I was writing a bit about Archangel Michael and God and Jesus and universe. And then after the incident in December when the glass shattered, I went through about a 2, 3 week period, and right when I came out of that hotel room, I was visited by a boy that I have a soul connection to, that had transitioned a horrific death by human standards a few years earlier. I didn't know him, and
Wow.
he was connected with Archangel Michael, and we had some kind of something going on. So very quickly, uh, things started to unfold, and it turned out that I had gone to school with his mother, although I'd never had spoken a word with her, and then I knew to connect.
Synchronicities.
So we connected, and we exchanged code for a couple of 3 months, 4 months or so. It was in that time, uh, in March of 2012, that Archangel Michael gave me the name Soulogy, and defined as the other side of truth. You'll figure it out. That's what he was saying. At that time, 6 biblical prophets came in as guides. These were contemporaries. They were friends. They were aspects of me. Some I knew, some I didn't. And like a lot of people's stories, they would tell me things. I'd go look it up. They would tell me what was not accurate, what was accurate. I remember talking to Abraham, and he had one more child than they have documented. But I sat down with them, and then I had taught myself to dance. So 5, 6 nights a week, as I'm walking the streets during the day, I'm dancing in the clubs at night, and really living on the edge. And so one night, I went to a hotel room. Because sometimes I'd get a hotel room. I probably slept a third of the time on the streets, a third in a hotel, third on a friend's couch. And I was in my bed, and I saw the shadow of a Native American chief dancing in the corner. And he came in and he said, you know, who I am. And I said, wow, you feel like, you know, my cosmic father, but you're not, but you feel like the spirit of my father. He said, I am the spirit of your father. And he told me his name. And he told me he'd been dancing with me in the clubs. Because I always danced by myself. Yeah, I never danced. For me,
That's wild.
yeah, for me, the dancing was like channeling. The dancing, you know, again, I had just picked this up at 49, 50 years old, and I'm going to the all black clubs. I'm going to the underground clubs. I'm going to electronic clubs, and I never danced with people. I just danced by myself. It was literally like being in my own dimension. And so
Wow. That's
so
interesting. I never knew that about you.
yeah, and so yeah, and by this time I had been instructed to start Soulogy, so now I just have a flip phone and I'm just writing poetry and prose and sending it up to the group. And so yeah, the six ascendeds had told me, because really the six ascendeds, Yeshua, Magdalene, Archangel Michael, and then these three guys. And so they had told me, we're going to send you somebody, and they're going to teach you the last thing you've got to learn. And so that was that night. It was Chief Running Bear, who had been my father in a previous life. The memories came back. He died when I was very young. He was both a war and a medicine chief, kind of a chief of chiefs. And so we spent some time together. And actually, he had me get up, and as he's telling me all this, get up middle of the night, 2, 3 in the morning, go out to this sanctuary that I had found. It was kind of a park being developed, had a big body of water, and I had a lot of experiences out there that were pretty amazing. And he sent me out there, and there's a sidewalk that goes all around the pond. And so I get out there, he says, go this way. And so I start walking, and there's a turn, because remember, the ascendants told me they're going to teach you the one thing that the last thing you've got to cover. And I said, okay. I didn't know what it was. And so I'm walking around, and just as the sidewalk's turning, I come around the corner, and there's a poisonous water moccasin. And it's like, just like
Whoa.
poised in perfectly. I'd have to walk by it. And I mean, I would be this far from its face,
Whoa,
right?
for real?
Yeah. And it freaked me out. And I'm not going to say I walked right by it, but I went around it. I had to go by it, right? And it never moved. And at that time, I wasn't talking to animals yet. And it was there in retrospect, because we can do this. So I go back to that situation. It was actually going to have a conversation with me, but eventually I got the information anyway. It was a little bit too big of a jump for me, but I was probably like a week behind it. You know what I mean? I probably would have picked it up and kissed it in a week later. So there was a whole thing happening with the animals. So then Chief Running Bear, who I actually found one time on the internet, like right when this information came in, and there was a whole, these people were in England, and they did a seance, and Chief Running Bear came, and the information that he gave him was the same information he gave me. So, and then I've tried to go back and find it after that. I never could find it. So, that's how this stuff works. But then he introduced me to Chief White Owl, and White Owl was his brother and was my uncle in that life. And he was the medicine chief. And I wrote about him. I wrote books about, I wrote a book, and I pulled it off the shelf right away because I realized pretty quickly it was code, and that I didn't want to get stuck in the literal aspect of it. I wanted to stay focused on, and so then the other one was White Wolf, Chief White Wolf, who was the war chief, who was my older brother. And so they taught me in many, many ways, fear. And that went on, this whole thing went on till so that was 2012. It went on till about another year, year and a half. And there's a bayou that runs through Houston. There's a whole area along the bayou that runs actually probably like from where I'm at right now, my grandmother's house is 1 block over. My daughter happened to rent this place. I happened to come into town because of, just divine,
Yeah.
and so I'd
Intervention.
say, yeah, from here to about 25 miles that way, there's a bayou system, and that seemed to be where a lot of my experiences were, and a lot of my power, some type of grid, portal. I mean,
Portal. Yep.
vortex, yeah. Because
Yep.
I live next door to that cemetery for the first 4 years of Soulogy, and I would walk it every night, and that was a whole other thing. I would see all kinds of beings, but one night in 2013, after I came off the street, I got my 2 youngest kids back, trying to get stabilized, and I was out there, and let's see what happened. I was at the bayou. I was instructed to go to the bayou and sit down on the embankment. I sit down on the embankment, and all of a sudden, it was like somebody turned on a giant golden light. Like everything just, and this is a golden light that I actually just experienced again 2 nights ago, that has been with me the whole time. Like it'll come in and give me confirmation, and it gets very golden. And it happens sometimes on the shows. It usually happens when there's a strong truth, but it's even more than that. I'm sitting on the bayou embankment, and I'm having what I can only describe as a hallucinogenic experience. Okay.
Without the hallucinogens.
Yeah. And so all of these hooded brethren appeared, and I knew them, and they were tied to these biblical prophets, which I had a long history with on another planet, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm sitting there, and I'm still in the, I've been through a lot of trauma, and I've got a lot of stuff on my plate, but I am coming off the streets, and I got my kids back, and their mom has died, and there's all this stuff going on. And it was during that situation or experience, I looked down, and my body turned into a bear, right? And then
Whoa.
then it turned into a wolf. And then the owl I didn't turn into an owl, but the owl kind of like, it wasn't as physical, or it didn't look physical like the other ones. But the funny thing is about, the later that night, my son, who lived in a second floor apartment down the road, was sitting with his girlfriend watching TV, and he got this urge. He had to go run outside on his balcony because he felt me. And he said when he ran out there, an owl flew over his head. So I knew.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I knew that, and there was a lot of other things that happened I could get into. And I normally, like, Jesse showed the other day, I didn't really go into all this because I'd been on the show before. And I feel like that these things are important, but they're not important in terms of creating any kind of differentiation between me and somebody else. And
I appreciate that, because the one thing I've always loved about you, Todd, and all my watching of you and feeling into your heart, because I can do that without meeting someone, is I've always really respected and honored your humility. And I think, like, it's not an accident to me that we've connected during this time, like what's going on right now, because I've worked with Archangel Michael my whole life, but I didn't really realize I was working with him until I was in my 20s. And the way that you handle yourself tells me that you have worked with him, because one of the things I feel like that he's taught me the most, and I've had to be initiated multiple times in this faction, is the whole idea of being humble and being, that I am a servant to humanity. Like, the angelics are a servant to humanity. If I am working with the angelics, and I am angelic, which I am, through blood, through lineage, through all of this, I am working for the humans. I am serving them. I am not above. I am not extra. I am not special. I am actually working for them. And so for the longest time in my life, I always walked through kind of hidden. I didn't want people to know who I was. I didn't talk about things. I would mention the angelics in reverence, but I wouldn't mention what I did with them and how I worked for them and with them. I never would talk about it. And then just probably 6 months ago, I decided, I was guided that there was this push that I cannot keep it like quiet or a secret anymore. Like it's the time that I have to be very vocal
Right.
and use my throat chakra to express and give codes about the things in the stuff I know. Like it can't be hidden. So like no matter what I say and how I say it, it does not matter. The codes will come through for the
Right.
people that need to receive them. And so, you know, you're such a good, reminder. The way that you interact and the way that you communicate is always about serving, serving,
Right.
serving. And that's something so, so important. And that's what I want to do on this page and on this, with my voice is I just want to be able to serve. I want to bring people on that are going to be more servants to
Right.
to the universe, to planet Earth, to the evolution, to the truth. And those are really, really important things. And that's what you're doing.
Mm.
And you're also the thing about you and Morgan as well, is you guys are both of you are very, very vulnerable in your experiences.
Mm.
And I don't feel like I watch a lot of different podcasts and I have a lot of different connections to a lot of different humans, whether they know it or not. Like I'm very connected to them. And I feel like one of the things that makes you stand out in as far as the work you're doing and how you're getting through it all, like you're cutting through all the bullshit, pardon my language,
Mm.
is you're cutting through it because of your truth. And
Mm.
that's something that like I'm always like speaking about: truth, transparency, authenticity. Those are things that are like the only ways that I operate. And I see that that's the same path that you are on. And like, I want to get into a little bit about like what's going on with you and Morgan right now, as far as like all that stuff that you guys are doing with the Nephilim, because I think that it's really important for everyone to understand that there's shadows and there's light and it's all the same thing, but it's really important right now to like release, but also acknowledge the
Mm.
fact that these things exist. So first you have to acknowledge them before you can ever release them. So first you have to acknowledge and understand that all these things that we can't see exist.
Mm.
And it's like deciphering a language, and you guys are very articulate in making it so like talkable and common and normal, but a lot of people like out in the real world, like in the muggle world, which I call it, like the
Mhm.
the world where people are doing 9 to 5s and have to
Mm.
do they don't understand a lot of this. And it's really important for people such as ourselves that have been doing so much work and literally went through a lot of suffering through different various parts of our human life to be able to get to this level, to be able to be a teacher or a teacher and a student, obviously, because we're always doing both. But
Yeah.
yeah, like what can you tell the audience a little bit about what Morgan has gone through and what you guys are going through together?
Yeah. I mean, again, there's a whole lot of stuff there. You know, this started, like I said, for me in May of 2011, and then I was actually given the name Soulogy on her birthday, but I didn't know her in
Yeah,
2012.
when did you meet Morgan? Like I tell me a bit about that because I don't know that backstory and I think it would be interesting to know.
Yeah. So I was given the name Soulogy on her birthday, March the 10th, 2012. I didn't know her though. And then I came off the
Oh,
street,
that's crazy.
and
That's
then
wild.
yeah, let's that it gets better. And so then I came off the streets. My girls and I rented the upstairs of my mom's house for a year. Then we got our own townhouse. And so we're just making it, just rent and food, and that's it. And I'm trying to recuperate, and I'm doing Soulogy now. Now I got a computer. Now I'm starting to get into video, about to get into videos. So 2 years later, on her birthday, March 10th, 2014, I was given the name Soulogy One Studios. And that's when I started to create a studio. And this is all coming from the team. And I'm doing grid work. every night. I don't even know what it is. I'm in the cemetery every night. I'm having all kinds of encounters, including some witnessed by others, and just a whole bunch of stuff there. But in March of 2015, I came across her, and I kind of like, I just knew. She was one of those people that only had like 2 pictures on Facebook, and they were like, one was in front of the Eiffel Tower, and she was about this big. So I'm blowing it, but there was something about her that I just knew, and so I kind of just kept doing my thing, and then a few months later, I hit her up and I said, hey, because I think by that time there was probably 15,000, 18,000, 12,000, I think 12,000 in Soulogy. It was right after the one I just told you about earlier that I saw in the memories. But anyway, I sent her a note and I said, how would you like to join Soulogy? Which was really, I was hitting on her because I never asked anybody, and so she wrote back and said, what is it? And I tend to be pretty like move. And I had kids, whatever. I don't know what, but I told her at the time, hey, I'll get back with you within 24 hours or something like that. So I was like everybody doing a lot of, and this was 2015, September the 3rd. And so it was actually September the 2nd, because around 10 o'clock in the evening until 3 o'clock in the morning, I was going through major purging of sexual distortion. I by that time was pretty confident in my own world. I may not be able to talk to people about it. I did write about all this stuff, and I had the nerve to do that. And that really, I think, was a lot of the pull in the early days of bringing people into Soulogy. Then they started sharing in the group. But I called in Kuan Yin, who had been very helpful to me. And we worked on it, and it still didn't go away. So I jumped off the couch at 3:33 in the morning, and I said, I need her now. And in that moment, she texted me back and said,
Wow.
yeah,
Because
because
you requested it out in the universe. Like you manifested that through your
yeah,
intention.
or we did, I guess, she was messaging me back saying, hey, it's okay. I already checked your group out and I joined it. And I said, I need to talk to you right now. She goes, I know. So
Whoa.
we messaged back and forth, and we merged something that some of the coding she brings in is herioscamos, sacred sexuality, divine feminine. She's quite, this is her work. This is her, this is her lineage. So I didn't know it. I mean, I'm just kind of like run on instinct and, intuition. So we end up merging, the practice of herioscamos. Normally, when that occurs, it starts with the root chakra, and kind of gets that sexual feeling, and it goes
Yeah.
up
Yeah.
through the body. With
Right.
her and I, it started with the heart chakra. So she was like, I'm like, she goes, well, I know we need to talk. And she said, you want to do this? And I'm like, what is that? She goes, well, can I reach through the ethers and hold your heart in my hands? And I said, yeah, go ahead. And so she did that, and then I did it, and then we
She
went
just
through
asked you, just like a matter of fact, like when she just very first started talking to you, she's just like, can I
it
hold
was
your heart
all
chakra?
it was all innate and familiar. Like I said to
Right.
her, I need to talk to you now. And
And
she
she
said,
just knew, like,
I
yeah, I
know.
know.
So it was there. So what ended up happening was, yeah, we that happened. And then the next morning I convinced her to talk to me on the phone, even though she had talked to me. And then for the next 18 months, we would merge pretty much, we would connect almost every day. And I never saw her on video. I think I got one picture from her in a year and a half. And then
Wow, that
yeah,
is true.
yeah.
That right there, Todd, that is
Mm,
so
mm.
like that. Not only is that like faith, but that in trust, but like to me, there was like you both, not only were you guided to each other, but to me that says that like you guys have done a lot of work before that moment, like before
Oh
you
yeah,
ever physically met, like you
yeah.
in other periods of time and other bodies and other time frames and other dimensions, like you guys have already worked together
Oh
a
yeah.
ton. for
Yeah.
18 months to never even see each other, like in a
Yeah.
video?
Yeah. She wouldn't do it. So I think
Well, what do you think that was about?
well, she had gone through a very traumatic life. And she had a visit from Merlin in 1999, and that's when her whole thing started, right? So she was checking in every day, writing just mammoth notebooks, filling up notebooks and writing, getting a lot of information like those like her do. And then this was all in the early 2000s and so on. So she knew what was coming. She knew about these types of sacred unions. She knew a lot of things. And then I had my thing. We're very much polarities. We're very much total opposites, but we're exactly the same. And so then I left Houston in 2016. I went on the road, and I started doing this, and at the time, no contributions, no donations, nothing. And I'm just running.
Yeah,
They're telling.
how did you that's another quick thing,
Mm,
another sidebar I wanted to
mm,
ask you, like,
mm.
how did you fund all this? Like, it was just
I
literally you
didn't.
volunteering your time?
Well, when I was with my girls, we had a death benefit from their mother's death, and it was enough to pay the rent and the electricity. And then I just made do and got by with doing odd jobs or whatever. But I mostly did Soulogy. And then somebody discovered my writing, and they asked me, they sent me $1,500 to open up an ayahuasca ceremony. I mean, so little things would happen. And then
Because you followed the breadcrumbs.
yeah. And so little things would happen. And then I kind of got kicked out of Houston. My last skirmishes with the law and the system and all that. And I went to Arkansas just by whim, by somebody that was kind of in the Soulogy network. And I stayed in her house in a spare bedroom for 2 months. And then I get this. Now, this is December of 2016.
Okay.
So it's a little over a year after I met Morgan. And so I get this thing, like I can feel it. I've got to go. Now there's 2 feet of snow on the ground, and it's 2 o'clock in the morning. Next thing you know, I'm going to the bus station. I got $250, and there's a bus ticket for $237 to go to New York City. And now I go to New York City, and so it was, and I document. And that was the first time that people started to send money. When I got on that bus, I'm telling people, this is what I'm doing. I've been hanging out with Archangel Michael over here. I am sold. Don't give up. This is real. Fuck all that other stuff, kind of thing. And
You
people,
trusted. So you jumped off the platform and
mhm,
you trusted the universe. And
mhm,
that's the thing. When you trust that intuition, that heart, whatever you want to call that, when you trust that inner voice,
yeah,
I truly believe that you cannot fail, you cannot fall. Like, I've experienced it myself in my own life where I had to jump literally into the
right.
abyss. I was
That's
taking
right.
care of 2 kids, and I was being treated terrible at a job. It was like I worked for like a Hitler. It was just terrible. Like, I was being so abused. I was being paid such a small amount of money, and I literally had to quit that job and no job, and I had to
Yeah,
trust.
yeah,
And I was dealing with a ascended master, Sai Ma. She's still alive. She does a lot of work on the planet, and she was in my circle, my inner circle.
mm,
And her guidance and her love and her energy was like Jill, because she was divine mother. She was Mary, Mother
right.
Mary. Like, her energy is, connected to the Rose lineage. And she
Mm,
was like, trust, jump off, just like what
right.
you're saying. Like, you dove off. Like, you went to New York
Mm.
City with what? You said you had a $50 in your pocket or something? Like,
Less than that.
crazy.
Well, I left on the bus. I think I had 23, $27 on the bus. And it was a long ride. It was a 36-hour ride. But I was jumping off every moment, and I'm doing lives, Facebook lives, and I'm like, hey man, this is what's happening. And then I'm getting these downloads, and I'm sharing them, and I'm not, and all of a sudden, by the time I got to New York, there was like $600 in my PayPal. But this
So,
thing
so
just kept.
was that connected to Facebook or something? The PayPal
No,
or something?
no, I had put my PayPal out, but people weren't sending anything.
Oh, I see. I see.
Yeah, I mean, I could tell you story after story after story. I mean, it'd be 3 or 4 months later. I'm in New Jersey in the middle of a blizzard because a radio station over there had seen my stuff, and they wanted me to come and do a daily show with them. And I'm like, yeah. And then I get over there and they want to charge me $500 a week to do it. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? We had 7,000 people come in on the first show I did with them. So now I'm in a hotel room. I got no money. And the people are telling me, get out. You got to get out or
Whoa.
we're going to call the police. There's a blizzard outside. So I run outside in the blizzard and I tell people, don't give up, you know? Yeah, I mean,
Whoa.
it was always like this. And
And so
then,
what happened? So then you just money
well,
was in
that
your
time,
account again?
well, what happened that time was I went into, I came out of the blizzard. I laid on the bed. I cried. I said, I got to go. I got no choice. I went and took a shower. And as I was in the shower, I heard my phone going ding, ding, ding. And somebody on the live, it said, let's all send Todd $11.11. And 9 or 10 people later, I got like $95 in the PayPal. And I'm in the hotel lobby. I got all my stuff. It was just a little dive. And I never used Uber or anything like that. So I pulled down Uber and I could get to Grand Central Station with $90. And I had like 94. So I went to Grand Central Station, but it was all these things. A friend that I would meet contacted me and said, I have a place in Long Island. You're welcome to stay here. I won't bother you. You know, so then I went to Grand Central and I didn't have any money to get from Grand Central to Long Island. And then so I bussed a little bit, you know, did a couple of raps and, you know, just did my Soulogy thing. And people, you know, got the money. I bought the ticket, go to the lady's house. So it was always like this. But around that time, Morgan reached out to me.
It's called complete surrender, Todd.
Yeah,
Complete
complete.
surrender.
Exactly. Exactly. And I mean, I got so many stories there, so many stories, but to go back with Morgan, it's one thing to experience these things on an individual level. And I've experienced a lot of things. I've seen a lot of things in form and otherwise. And so she ends up coming to New York City. And she doesn't have much. She's got like $1,500 in the bank. All her friends tell her she's crazy. She can go meet this homeless guy. He could be a serial killer. Look at him. He's dancing, sings, and he talks all this stuff. And he, you know, doesn't have a shirt on and his beard's never shaved, you know, all this stuff. But she came and we went on a 12-week trip and it was amazing. And all these things happened, right? And then she went back. We went all around the country and then she went back and it was all done on a daily basis. We didn't know where we were going the next day. You know, I didn't have any money. I mean, but it would appear I'd buy 2 bus tickets and we go. So then what happened was about 9 months went by and I'm trying to make this work and I'm working my ass off and it's just a struggle and she's over there and I'm over here. And finally, I land in Georgia and I was just starting to get enough momentum that, you know, like say 1,000, 1,200, 1,500 in a month, right? That I could actually afford to rent something or at least offer an exchange because many people said, come live with me, come live with me, come live with me, or come stay with me. But it never energetically worked out. So I was renting a basement of a sister's house in kind of a rural subdivision in kind of a rural area in Georgia, beautiful area. And it was obvious that this was all planned. The land was there, Merlin was there, the Pleiadians were there, it was all this there.
Wow.
Morgan's coming to meet me. Morgan's coming to meet me. And so that happens. And within the first week in that bedroom, we had so many experiences, but I think the two that stand out the most is the first one was we lay down because we always lay down, put our hands together and we connect. So we're laying down and I could hear through tones what they were saying and I said they're coming. And then I say, they're almost here. And then I said, they're here. And then I look up at the ceiling and there's like this black energetic kind of vortex looking thing. And I said, do you see that? She goes, what do you think I've been looking at for the last 5 minutes? I said, oh, okay. And so we're instructed to kneel before each other. Now we're buck naked, kneeling before each other on the bed and looking at each other. And now we didn't tell each other this until the next morning. But this is what happened. We experienced the same thing and we documented all this. We wrote it and so this is how it went for me. So what happened was from like like what you can see of me, from the chest up, all of a sudden the silhouette of the body turned into the cosmos, like, something like that, right? Turned into the cosmos.
Wow.
And then you could start to see the ribbons of the DNA in we could see this in each other. And again, we weren't telling each other anything. We didn't talk. The only talking that happened was she would giggle kind of in fear, like when people get nervous and they
Yeah, yeah,
giggle.
yeah.
And I would say, what the fuck is that? What the fuck is that? And so that was really all that was said. So what ended up happening was we started shape shifting. And at first,
Whoa, you
yeah,
did?
oh yeah, this went on for about 45 minutes. So we start shape shifting, and I'm looking at all these incarnations of her, every one of them I know, past lives. Then it starts, yeah,
Whoa.
then it becomes off planet. Then it becomes off universe.
What?
Okay.
What happened with that? Like, tell me about the
Well,
off universe. That's
Well,
that's
I
interesting.
it went from like, like I can remember, like one of the first ones was like a short uh kind of diminutive, not not unattractive, but much different than her, but I knew it was her. And this was a person, like, say, from 80 years ago. And then there was another one a little older. There's another little older. Then it went into the off planet, which, was like Lyran and Pleiadian. And, I could see, and I knew who they were. And I knew, and she would say the same thing the next day. We knew who we were, and in each life, like in one life, I might be your spirit guide, but we were all always pretty much, and I was pretty much always masculine. She was always feminine. That was kind of interesting. But the off planet stuff was really interesting, because when that started happening, I'm like, what the fuck? Because these were like ugly looking and just like, from our perspective, right?
Right.
They were just weird looking. They were like
So
there was this.
do you think so I guess like I would ask you in your feeling of this whole scenario that went down, did you feel like you traveled through these dimensions to these versions of yourself, or do you feel that you were just remembering it and downloading it and kind of reliving it through your brain?
I think it was a planned, uh, a planned, seminal point on our path, a marker. We didn't travel anywhere. Although many times, as in that night, the walls disappear, the sky disappeared, the floor disappears. Um, but I remember after she went off planet, and of course she's seen the same thing in me, but we're not saying anything again, right?
That's
She had two
wild.
heads. One of them was really tall and had two heads, right?
Wow.
And so it just kept going on and on. So we're watching it, and then all of a sudden, I look over there and I can see a second head again. I thought, oh, I guess there's going to be another one with two heads. And
Shit.
but a man walks out from behind her who looks like Santa Claus, who I recognize, and who looked at me and kind of handed her to me, like gave her away to me. And it was Merlin. And when I talked to her on the phone that first day on September the 3rd, 2015, as soon as I heard her voice, I heard in my head, this is Merlin's daughter. And then I told Morgan, I said, I don't know what the hell's going on here, but it's like, I was the god, you're the goddess. We were at the beginning of the earth. You go that way, I'll go this way. We'll meet at the end. And I believe that's where we're at now. And yeah,
Wow.
so all this stuff came in. So anyway, he came out, and that's when I said, who the fuck is that? And she just started laughing, and he gave her to me, and then he walked through the wall, and that was the end of it. Well,
Wow.
about 2 or 3 nights later, we're told the same thing. So we stand up,
Wow.
or we kneel, we're in front of each other. Now the room fills up with 6 translucent beings, all humanoid of different species.
Wow.
And that happened. And so that was some type of seminal moment, to anchoring point, that was witnessed by these aspects. 2 of these aspects walked into my back. One was, I'd find out later,
Wow.
was my Syrian aspect, and one was an Alpha Centaurian aspect that had specific purposes or specific coding that I needed turned on, which had to do with architecture and design and of Soulogy and implementing it work-wise. So, and we've had many other episodes such as that many times. And I guess you made reference to this thing with the Nephilim. Now,
Yeah, that seems like the latest thing that's like opening up for the two of you, and that you guys are working on.
well, I really believe that what we're sensitive to, really, she seems to, she's the weather vane, she's the antenna. I'm picking it up too, but I'm out here doing different things. And so I think the Nephilim thing is a really good example of that. So all through the years since 2011, I've had a lot of memories, or especially up until like 2-3 years ago, during that period. Now they've come back this year, but a lot of galactic war stuff, a lot of past life stuff. I'm the fight in the dark and this and that, and boom, 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 and all this stuff, right? She doesn't ever have that. She's always had, and she doesn't have anything biblical in nature. I've had a lot of that. I'm a very organic. She's very galactic, very Pleiadian. And her information is very specific and pure and clear. And so very recently in some of the sessions that we do, like I'm talking about like April and May, she started saying like, who's Noah? And we're building an ark and we're writing the scripture. And she was like, why am I saying this stuff? That sounds like you. I don't ever do that stuff. Well, very recently, now it's pretty extraordinary. So it's both about the Nephilim, but it's all about us, that. But her story is what makes it so important. So Morgan was raped from 3 to 13 by a family member, an uncle, and also 3 other men. Okay. And so I'm getting all this intel in my own way. She's getting her intel, and it all kind of comes to a head. And my take on this, and I believe she'd agree with me, is we're really kind of witnessing and anchoring in and aligning with what's happening on a collective level. As an individual goes,
Right.
so goes a collective. And just since we put that out 2 days ago, I'm still getting messages from people that are getting the same thing. Right. So this is something very, very, in fact, I know this to be the biggest thing that's ever happened. And it anchored in yesterday on 777. And I have direct contact with the Mother Goddess. I mean, that's who I work for. And that's where, when I hear from the Mother Goddess, there's nothing else to hear from. I mean, like, I know this to be the end all of cure all. But so basically what happened was, and I'll just kind of tell this in a quantum way. It was probably a year and a half, 2 years ago. I do some stuff in lucid dreams. Sometimes I'll pull very clear information in lucid dreams. So I was taken back to Lemuria, and it was me and Morgan and another woman, like a sister. And we were there, and and everything was cool. And very familiar. And I remember everything. And that was the day that the Anunnaki came in, and they enslaved and killed the men, and they took the high priestesses, which she was one of them, and they raped them. And that's where, and those offspring were the Nephilim. Okay. So now, as these last few days and weeks have begun to merge the past and the future and the present, is my understanding. Because if you look at what we're dealing with today, it's really over the last 12,000 years. Most people are going to agree on that. Now, I realize things never end, and there's never a limit to it. But in terms of what we're dealing with and bringing back into alignment and into balance, it's the last 12,000 years. So say Atlantis goes down, and then here we go. So my understanding from the mother, and I had a huge experience with her at this time last year for several weeks, that I documented on, very well on Facebook and YouTube and all that. That was when the initial corruption took place. So in other words, if in this realm, even though it's all okay and it's an experience for us all, and we need to make it real and all that, that was the moment that the mother herself was corrupted. And I don't mean corrupted as she's bad, it just means that her programming, whatever, her DNA, whatever, was And I come to understand now that the reason that that's so important is because it was the physical act. It wasn't like a laboratory hybridization program or something like that. The stuff actually took place through the insemination. And that's also where the split occurred with the masculine and feminine. And in my lucid dream, I remember that very much. Like, wow, all the things that the man went through and all the things that she went through. Like, why didn't you protect me? And why would you do that to me? And abandonment and all these things that we've dealt with since that day. So that's kind of connected to this. And now what ends up happening is about 4 years ago, and again, this is a quantum explanation. We're not in linear time. We're not in chronological time. So about 4 years ago, well, we had gone to Kauai. I went with no money. I get over there, get her in Australia. Now we're living hand to mouth every day, trying to do shows, and we just squeezed by for 10 months. But we went there and we had more experiences in our bedroom with the Lemurian grandmothers and past memories and rebalancing and re-anchoring things, all very fascinating, like the Georgia stories I was telling you. But so then what happened was we ended up going all the way to Florida, and we get there right before COVID, and that was all Atlantean. Okay.
Okay.
And so same kind of things are happening there. But when we were in Florida, we connected in the bedroom one night, and the Draco reptilians came in, and they said to us, we're leaving now. You guys have illuminated to a point now we can't even be here. And we're tired. You need to understand that this was our role.
Right.
It was like honor and reverence and mutual respect and love. It was just, it was what it was. Now that's come back now, full circle, right? And this is where I'll tie it into what's going on, because it is very important. So what ends up happening is Morgan has a session. And at the same, I'm going to leave it with her intel because mine is a little bit different, but it's the same thing. But my only point is it's happening at the same time. So there was like that video we put out 2 days ago. Many people said that's probably the best thing y'all have ever done. There was something that converged there, and I don't think that's just us. It was all of us, right? So she does a session, and she knows something's going on because she's super sensitive, and so she decides just to ask. And so she asked, is there something, an entity, is there something here? And she hears, and she doesn't even know what the word means.
Yeah, I heard you
Yeah.
guys talking about that on
Yeah.
the video. You were talking
Yeah.
about how because you actually educated her about a lot of like the
Yeah.
whole thing.
Yeah, see, I used to tell her this stuff, and she'd be like, I don't know. I don't relate to that. It doesn't resonate. I don't want to talk about it. Now she's like, oh my God. But so they said they were the Nephilim. She thought it was like Oraphim or Seraphim. She thought it was some high conscious thing. Then she realizes that it's not. And then it has a conversation with her and tells her that this is actually a network overlay into pretty much all of us on the earth. And there's other elements that are not Nephilim, like succubus or different things like that. But the Nephilim to me is the original. And what I know about it is this. I know that 15,000 years ago, as we all decided, how are we going to do this the last 15,000, last 12,000 years? How are we going to do this? How are we going to come out of this long experience in Earth? And a group stepped up and they said, why don't we make this 3D, make it inverted and really distort the hell out of it? And we'll be the ones to do it. And that was that group, right? So they explained to her that basically what happens is these are hundreds and hundreds of lives implanted in us, right? That they actually have a voice in our head, basically. I'm just going to use my terms, that we, because of our identity, are identifying with certain traumas and this and that, we think it's us. So this goes into addictions, this goes into other behaviors. And I think she explains that on the thing, right? So not only that, but there were 3 other little ones that came out with the Nephilim, and that was all released. But she kind of knew that there was still something in there. So a couple of days go by, And she is, she talks about, so I'll just say it real quick. She's getting back into bed. She can't sleep. Something's going on, takes her clothes off. She's like 3 steps from getting in the bed, and she's butt naked, and she gets paralyzed. And she goes to work.
Wow.
Who is this? And it ends up being her uncle.
Yeah, that
So her
right
uncle,
there,
right,
that part of the story was like so intense that
right.
she connected with that, and I feel like that's really important. I'm gonna let you finish that before we talk about it, but
Hmm.
I really feel like a lot of people are going to be, in the very short period of time now, are going to be facing something similar,
Right.
maybe not in a state where like she did, like in that exact kind of state, but they're going to be revisited and have the opportunity to let go. But finish what that happened to her, because I want people to know that.
Well, essentially, he had the same type of conversation that she had with the Nephilim, and basically explained that, hey, this, we all play a part. And but because it was a very personal experience, it had, I believe it had more impact. And what I mean by that is that he was able to tell her, look, I couldn't go anywhere until my guilt and shame and etc. kind of and until you forgave. And what she concluded was that she had already cleared. She'd done years and years and years of clearing. So mentally, emotionally, everything was clear except the body, which is what's been going on with all of us these last, year and a half or so, at least, because it's getting so loud. But also explain that these are soul contractual situations. And then the thing is, he leaves, and then 3 more come out, and that was the other 3 perpetrators that had raped and molested her. So now this is all tied to the Holy Mother. And I could go into a lot of validation as to why personal things happening and what I call physical synchronicities. But, I could say that the Holy Mother, has basically told me a couple of days ago, what is happening is this. If you look at most people, even people that like their mother, okay, who probably gets projected more in this world than anyone? The mother does. The mother is the universe, and the mother is, you know what I mean? So that's, and a lot of people have issues with their mother, right? It just so happens that my mother and I reunited right here across the street and have been seeing each other regularly since then, after a lot of conflict and etc. After 6 years, same's happening to Morgan. Same's happening to some other people I know. The mother is coming back online, and she told me 2 days ago. She said, "What's happening is you've all gone full circle, and you're coming back to a place where you love her as she's always loved you." So basically what she's showing is that we had to go through all the aspects of the mother. The mother had to show us everything. I had a huge, really probably the most profound experience of my life was last year in Sedona in the desert at the mother's behest. And I faced off with the dark feminine, and I loved her unconditionally as she threw everything at me that she could, which was one of the most fierce, that was the most powerful energy or entity I've ever been around, including Archangel Michael and etc.
Wait a minute, you need to talk to me about this, Todd. I need to hear about
Well,
this.
it's all connected. So I think it's a good segue. So the mother's telling me that now we have seen her in every light, and we've come back to a place now where we accept and love all parts of her, which is the way she's
Right.
always been with us. And then she would show me images of me being held all through my life, but now how I can hold her in equanimity, right?
Mm.
So going back to the dark feminine, and this is powerful, and I documented some of this stuff. I took an amazing 16-minute video in Sedona at her request. Takes me outside of town, get out of the car. Next thing I know, there's this huge, monsoon, and the sun's going down, and the mountains are in the middle, and all these colors, and it was just crazy. But what ended up happening there is she called me to Sedona, and she had me sleep on a rock for about 2 weeks.
What?
Oh yeah, it was brutal. It wasn't brutal. It was a fire cleansing, like a Kali cleansing. It was magnificent.
Kalima. Yep.
Yeah,
Kalima.
and
Kalima's come to me a lot lately. Kalima. Yep.
well, that's her, and so I had this experience with her, and the short of it is that she tells me this. She says, son, she says, uh, I am all these things. I am the dark feminine. And the dark feminine is the unknown. The dark feminine is uncontainable. It is chaos looking, right? And she said, I don't even know what's in there. She said, that is my womb. That the darkness is my holy womb.
Right.
And she said, as you know, in life, they've always told me this, the universe is going to give you 90%. There's always going to be that 10%. You're never going to know it. I can't prove
Right.
to you I'm an eternal soul. You can't
Right.
prove to me that Archangel Michael exists. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
Like, so there's always that 10%. She said, that's it. She said, that is the holy darkness. That is the void. And that is my womb. And I don't even know what's in there. She says, what we do is, she goes, we constantly, like a toroidal, we constantly separate, and we come back and we enter Vesica Pisces, and
Yep.
we go right back in, and that's
Yep.
and that's how we go to new creations. So, that really, and then in January, she told me, this year's going to be just like last year, except y'all are going to be more balanced, and that's unfolding to the T, right? And so now that this has happened, and I know that the mother's whole again, and I was shown last year, and I'm sure a lot of people have been. I'm not super, duper special here, but I saw her. Well, that day she told me to drive out of town. I was sitting by the studio. She goes, get in the car, drive out of town, head to the west, turn right here. I get out of town, I turn right. I'm looking at this monsoon, the sun's going down, all these colors. I got this incredible video of it. And I did it live. And then people start stopping, and she's showing me. And in that moment, she told me, I'm here. The job is done. This leg of the contract is over. And she gave me a new
Wow.
contract right after that. But she says,
You thought you were done. Nope.
well, no, it was my choice. It was my choice. It was really not a
Right.
new contract. She said, what would you like to do now? What do you want in your life now? Like, what do you want? But she said at that time that she kind of showed it like this, like a pink magenta mist or cloud just covering the earth. And she showed me all the armies in the world on one side and her on the other. And she went, and they just went, cool. Right. So she was showing me
Wow.
that there was nothing that could stop this. Now, where I think this is gone, and again, I'm not saying this is the gospel. I'm just offering my own rendition.
Yes.
And what I believe is happening now, I believe the strongest connection in this realm is the mother and daughter. To me, that is the strongest connection I've ever seen. If you look at, I have 6 kids. I can never, and I have maternal instincts. I'm a very sensitive, loving man. I like everyone. I have my traumas, and I've had my, whatever, but my children know my heart. And
Right.
I'm tapped in much more now, but even on the way, I was always tapped into my soft, my feminine side, right? Well, I never could have the connection that their mother could with them. There's just something about it. And because if the connection between the mother-daughter energy is intact, then everything flows from there. And I believe what's happening now is that those are occurring. And of course everything goes from there,
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
I like to write. That's kind of what dancing. Well, I don't dance so much anymore, but just but I like to write every night. And I was trying to write about this last night, and there was a particular uh, part, and basically what it's talking about is that before she was creator, she's creation. And it's kind of like, the old thing, well, who made God? Well,
Chicken or the
that's,
egg. Yep.
yeah, but creation is just there. And as I've always, as she's explained it to me, you have one and then it separates by her dream. I want a playmate. I want someone totally, you know what I mean? Like the perfect polarity. They're totally opposite, but the same. I mean, it's the cycle of life, right? And then you come
Right.
back and it keeps going, flower of life. So obviously the masculine is the architect and the builder, and the mother is the dreamer, right?
Yeah.
And so I look at it that way, but ultimately I'm her. So I'm actually her. I'm the creation, but I also the masculine, and we're all on this path finding this out. But
Yeah.
so I tried to, like, I had this old picture of my great grandmother. See here,
Okay.
and
Yep.
she was born in 1890. She's the first angel I ever met, and I just happened to
Aw.
took this picture. When I went to go see my mother the other day. So I was trying to like capture this transition as we've got to this level of awareness where we're not just a human being, but a divine human being, that houses a multidimensionality. That this skin suit is a soul, and so on. So I was trying to like distinct between like, uh, so we have this the pains of loyalty exposed, and it's found beneath her endless kiss. Uh, crowns of royalty betrothed. We can't win, we can't lose, we can't miss. Caressing eternity and mystery, the mother dreams the beats, father gods hit the streets of hell, flipping scales till the heart subdues, finding hers, finding us. Love wins. Shiva, Shakti, fortunes follow, golden light, a life's offering. Love's corrections, true resurrection of the Holy Trinity, a golden child energy bleeds, reunifying blood, spirit, and bodies, soul's beauty. Our name is love again. Pains growing gently and brighter till we greet a master's paradise again. I lost myself in the hounds of hells. No, I lost myself in the and found hell's a heaven of illusion. I didn't finish it, but I feel like that we're at this place where that Vesica Pisces is now the human, you might say the human consciousness, or I would even go as far as to say the human soul
Mhm.
and the soul. Like
The
they're
merge.
they're they're
Merge.
merging, and I think you could say this a lot of different ways. Like the human being species is now taking its proper place at the round table of the star family round table,
Yes.
but
Yes.
something like
The
that.
spirit
Yeah,
is taking the controls. The spirit is in the front seat and the human is in the back seat. And I mean, not they're not separate, but it's
right,
just it's a change of power because the soul is always wanted to have us live in our purpose and
right.
be of love and connection, and the human part of us has held us like it's like going with that whole like brain and the heart theory, like it's just a different way
Hmm.
of seeing it. It's like, going from the brain to the heart, we're going into the heart consciousness. And
Well,
that's yeah.
I think that I feel that what's happening is, and I've been waiting for this because I know I'm on the front end of it, and and a
Me
lot
too.
of us, it can be a brutal existence at times, or had been.
Yes.
And we get up and we go back, and all that, but that we're able to, people talk about telepathy and intuition, but we don't talk about empathy enough. And I think that
Yeah.
too many of us in the light worker starseed community have over identified with being an empath that put us in a position of victimhood and also superiority towards others, whether we understand it or not, kind of a covert narcissist type of thing. And if
I,
you're an
I
empath,
agree with you. I so agree with you. It's like, well, if you're not spiritual or you're not this, then
mm,
you're, like, yeah, like definitely another separation, another form of separation. And
exactly.
that's why what you're doing is so powerful because you're saying, I want everyone. I want everyone authentically them. I don't care what you look like. I don't care how you dress. I don't care what your platform is. I just want you to come in and be raw, be
Right.
real,
Right.
and be authentic. And see, like, people are like, "Oh, Jill, like, what are you going to talk about? Like, how is it going to be?" And I'm like, "It's going to be how it's going to be. It's going
Right.
to be organic. It's going to
Right.
happen as it happens. Things are going to come up, and then we're going to go off those things." I'm like, "That's how Todd does it, and that's how I will do it. I will always do it just like this. I will not have things planned out. I will
Right.
not have things written out. I will always go directly from what I feel wants to come through me,
Right.
and work with what comes through you. And that's how it's always going to be for me. And I see that's how you are. You flow that way. Like, I find out new things about you all the time because you are that way.
Well, yeah, and I think, and I really feel like that's our natural nature. I've said for years on the show, you know, we don't plan anything. It's just spontaneous, intuitive, creative, imaginative, and depending on what we're talking about, or doing courageous.
Hmm.
So it's the spontaneity has always been a part of this whole movement. And another example of that would be the music that Ty Hudnall and I do. I say that he does the music, and I'm kind of the lyricist,
I
kind of.
finally, I
Yeah.
finally, just to give you a heads up, I finally hipped myself to him because
Mm-hmm.
I know you've been having him on a lot. And
Mm-hmm.
so one night, I listened to it, and boy, I got into such a deep place
Yeah.
when I was listening to his music. I like went deeply into a meditation when I was listening to his music. So I definitely understand now what you were talking about,
Yeah.
because I just felt like he was welcoming me into a realm of bliss with his
Yeah.
music.
Yeah. His stuff is, and I've been a music, freak since I was probably 4 years old. And his, what we had a talk yesterday, and we talked about, what's happening. It's that whole thing about spontaneity, intuition, creativity, imagination, and courage all in one. Uh, we've seen it exhibited, like, say, on the talk shows, but this is kind of taking it, bringing other elements in. So you have the visual, you have the sound, you have the vibration, you have the different instruments, you have the lyrical phrasing as an instrument, the melodies, the rhyming, and so and it's all freestyle. Like I'm just cutting up some right now. I just made in little excerpts, and they're entire songs that just came out of nowhere. I mean, how does that happen? How does that happen?
Because you
It's
got out
just
of the way of yourself, and he got
right.
out of the way of himself, and there was
Yeah,
no
yeah,
self. Like, you were just an open vessel for creation to come through, and when you get out of the way, creation will work with you in every moment. It doesn't have to be a special moment. That's the thing that I want people to always understand. It doesn't have to be a dedicated moment. It could be any moment
right.
that you just get out of your own way, get out of your own head, and just exist. And as you do that, everything will unfold exactly as it's supposed to, just like the breadcrumbs of your whole life. Like,
Yeah,
you just followed them. And that's like such a good testament for all of humanity, because more people have to take the plunge. And I
yeah,
think this is the time that people are taking the plunge left and right. They're jumping into themselves into deeper ways. And I feel like, these types of conversations that we're having are opening doorways to
ab-
more of that.
absolutely. I mean, absolutely. That's my take on it. I mean, and it becomes a very present moment existence, and things such as time. We know time's been doing some weird stuff these last 2, 3 years.
Yes, it has.
Yeah, it's going away, and then space. Like, even being in a situation like I am with Morgan, and it kind of an indefinite kind of a energy hanging over, like, you don't even think about when we'll be physically reunited,
See,
because
I
everything's
I
kind of
think that's such a I just want to interrupt you for a second and say, I think that your connection, because you have so many different types of connection with her, but you have being married and having the, so-called romantic connection, physical connection, whatever that is, you have transgressed that in a
Yeah.
way that can teach others, because I think that people are so stuck. I was just having a fantastic conversation with my girlfriend last night, um April, and we were talking about how we are so stuck in constructs and boxes
Yeah.
about how everything needs to be, how everything should be, how everybody looks at what they like. I'm sure you guys have taken flack here and there from people like, oh, how do you do it? Like, she's here, you're there, like, how, and it's like, it's beyond all that. Like, it's beyond those constructs. And
Yeah.
I think it's such a beautiful testament for those people that really want to have a centered connection with a human being, and they don't need to have it go like everyone else does.
Right. Right. I mean, and look, it's not been easy. We didn't separate, it was extremely traumatic, um, for both of us at the human level. We didn't understand it. We
Now,
knew
did Morgan go there because she was guided to go there, or did she go there for her children? I never really understood how that went
it was a
down.
combination of things, I think. I mean, again,
Hmm.
it's hard to look at if we're going to rationalize or try to comprehend anything at this point from strictly a human perspective, then we're just beating our head against the wall.
True.
We know how these things happen. We get these urges, we get these things, or these events happen, or whatever the case is. It can look ugly on the surface even, and then
Yeah.
we find
Yeah.
ourselves a time later going, oh my God. Well, for her and I, it's been very challenging, but we've always returned to love. We've had tough times, at times. We're pretty private about that, and
Yeah. Yeah.
they're always in the back of my head. Always in the back of my head. Now, she did on the this was right when COVID blew up, so a lot of people were under a lot of tension then, I believe.
Hmm.
There was just a lot going on. Uh, so she did want to go back and take care of some stuff. It was a huge risk. We knew that, but we trusted. And here we are over 2 years later, and we're stronger than we've ever been. And things are continuing to come back, and our work is expanding. Like what just happened with this whole Nephilim thing. Uh, Aside from the subject matter, but looking at it from an energetic, um, kind of like an energetic catalyst, or,
Hmm.
uh,
Yeah.
kind of a gatekeeper for that. Her and I are into different hemispheres for a reason. There's some electromagnetics
Yeah.
involved. There's a lot of
Oh
stuff
yeah.
involved.
There's
There's
ley lines, there's
Yeah,
codes, there's,
yeah,
things that you're supposed to be doing here,
yeah.
there's things she's supposed to be doing there. And, it doesn't ever see, that's the thing I think that we're all learning in this new paradigm with, as it being a human, is that we don't have to physically ever, like, we be next to each other, like, to have to share an experience, like,
Mm,
energetically we're always together. And,
yeah,
energy doesn't die, it just changes form. And
yeah,
so just because you're not physically next to someone doesn't make any difference in
yeah.
the reality of your connection.
Well, I mean, I would love to be physically together, and I know that time will come. But I can say this today, after July the 7th, 777.
Oh, that
It
was
was,
crazy, wasn't
it
it?
was, yeah, but I mean, it was just, that was a very special day. That
Hmm.
was, that was a huge demarcation line, I think. And I can tell you a month ago, uh, I was, just like, and she was too. I mean, we were just, by ourselves, and kind of doubting some things, and like, what the hell, and oh my God, and this and that, and then it comes back together. So I mean, part of the reason too, in what her and I do, because we are polarity. We are polarity in every way you could imagine. She's basically like Glinda, the Good Witch of the North, and I'm kind of like the Chief Hellraiser. As the Mother Mary told me once, you're from the most wild goodness in the universe. And but so
Hmm.
when we do the things that we're doing, we're actually pulling both sides together too. We're pulling both hemispheres together, and kind of like being the access points that are, that are doing what they got to do. So
Yeah.
there's a lot to it. But
It's really good though. It's a really good representation of what the strength and the connection that the man and the woman can carry out if they so choose to. And
yeah,
you guys doing all these things together, but apart, like all the videos and all the stuff that you offer, I feel like I said to you the last time we talked, is I feel like it's just a really good, strong, jumping board for a lot of humanity to look at, and be like, okay, well, I see them doing this, and it's a different kind of power couple, because a lot of people think of power couples as everything is right next to each other, but like it's showing, it's giving the example that it doesn't always have to be that way, like in every moment. Like, of course, ideally you want to be next to your partner, but you also have a bigger plan, that you're serving the universe
right.
before you're serving Todd and Morgan. You're
Well,
serving the universe.
yeah, I think that, we both agree. When she started downloading in 99, she was told we're going from the age of duality to the age of Trinity. All my early stuff, 2011, 2012, talks about the Trinity from my very first writings. And
Yep.
The Trinity energy is when you serve each of the 3 points of the triad equally.
Hmm.
So, we serve ourselves and each other in the collective in equal terms. And at the end of the day, you can measure that, in my opinion, you can measure it best by, kind of setting the litmus test on service to the collective. So we both are aware of that, and we both have that commitment, and we both, are committed to, our soul, each other, and the collective. And we see it as what, not just her and I, but everybody, the way that the human figures this shit out. That's the new code. That's the actual code. Now, I've always kind of said that, and I've always kind of felt that, but in the last few days, I've been shown that in no uncertain terms, that this is it, and that nothing goes unrewarded, nothing goes unequaled in terms of what is reciprocated by virtue of your actions, be it an individual, a couple, or a group, or whatever. So,
I
you know,
I couldn't agree with you more. It's so funny that it seems like such a simple thing in concept, but
mm,
for some reason it's been a grasp for a lot of humanity. It's been a grasp. But
well,
it's
I
it's
think
not it's not hard to understand. It's like it's just simply serve, it's
yeah,
the serving will bring you everything you need.
yeah, that's true. That's very, very true. Like, I mean, what we're doing at Soulogy has been scary. I mean, we took a huge leap, and after about 90 days of whirlwind energy, anyway, regardless of who you were on the planet, uh, we kind of got our head out now, popped our head out July 1. All this stuff happened with the 777 and the mother, coming full circle, and whatever amazing threshold we've all just crossed.
Yeah, I
And
felt
we're
it. I felt
exactly,
like it was incredible. I like went into some really different realms.
yeah.
And it was like I didn't know if I was coming back. Like it was like
Oh, you're not going anywhere. Yeah, because the realms are coming here, or they're here. I mean, I can feel it. It's an amazing. Uh, I don't see where anything. Well, in fact, I know nothing from. And really, if we look back, it's only gotten better and better and better. But that we're in an amazing ramp up now. We really are. I mean, this is absolutely prolific, what's occurring, and so, you know again, we make these decisions based on the guidance that got us here in the first place. That doesn't I have a saying: if it doesn't make sense, then you need to do it, because that's how that communicates. And so, launching a
it makes sense,
Soulogy.
you gotta do it.
That's right, yeah. So I was focusing on getting a Soulogy Fest done in August or September, and then I was
You're
told,
doing it in a Sag month.
that's it's on my birthday. It's my birthday weekend. And
And
that wasn't because it's my birthday. I was told you need to do it this weekend, you need to do it at this site. And
So where is it going to be at exactly?
it's in Houston. It's going to be in Houston. It's on 30 acres. It's a whole place, and I should have it out by, I would say, probably Tuesday. And
I'm gonna do my best to be a
well,
part of that. That's
we're
my that's around my birthday. My birthday's on the 16th. So my
well,
birthday is
it's
gonna be around that time. So it would be a really good honoring of my birthday to celebrate it with you and
uh,
the crew. How many do you have a forecast of how many people you think are gonna come?
yeah. Originally, I thought it'd be like 300. Now from what I've been shown and what I'm seeing, and because it's 6 months ahead of us, and with everything that's happening, it could be, I think on the very low end, probably 600, on the high end, 1,500. So I really don't know, but if I had to guess right now, I'd say probably 800. So it's going to be 3 days. It's a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We got 36 hours of stage time. We're going to have probably 15, maybe 20 vendors. We might have a second stage. We'll have other tents, some workshops. It's really kind of, the theme of it is everybody is a star. We don't really have keynote speakers. We will have half of it's music related or art related or creative expression related, and half of it is not what I call non-traditional presenters. We don't put people up. We never have at the other events. We never have somebody to stand up and talk for 2 hours. It'll be 45 minutes to an hour and a half, and we don't really take breaks either. We just have a bandstand
So
behind.
to me, it's kind of it feels like, because I watched some of it before when you had it
Mhm.
on, when you aired it. It's kind of like your show, similar
Yeah,
to your show.
it's exactly what it is. We just
Yeah.
make it up as we go, and that's a perfect example. And it's worked really well. And we've got like Dr. Joe Delaney's coming from Liverpool.
Oh,
Uh,
he is.
yeah,
I
he's
love
our
him.
yeah, he's coming. I won't mention the other two, but a couple from Norway is coming, because I'm pretty sure that's a done deal. But I don't want to, like, put that out there, because it's not me. And then there's another one coming, the very powerful one coming from Ireland. Um, and I know about 4 people coming from Canada, a couple from Mexico. I think and because, see, we've never had one in a major metropolitan area. We had it in an isolated mountain in Arkansas, and in isolated or remote Sedona that's also extremely expensive, right? So we're and we've made the offering very feasible for people.
Good.
A lot less than we've already been less at our festival prices than the normal ones.
Hmm.
But the thing with what we're doing is that everyone that purchases a ticket, first of all, if they're coming on site, to the actual site, they're going to get an annual membership to the Soulogy network.
Oh,
And
that's fantastic.
yeah, and then anyone that buys online or gets a day pass, you know,
Hmm.
uh, they're going to get at least like 3 months or 4 months
Oh, that's
free.
cool. That's
Yeah,
like that's like twofer.
yeah.
That's cool.
And so it's going to coincide with kind of with the rollout of the Soulogy network too, because very soon, like by the end of this month, we will have an app, a Soulogy app. And that Soulogy app will take you to a channel feed that will have excerpts
That's so
of
cool.
all our shows.
That's so next
Yeah.
level, Todd. That's so
Yeah.
next level.
So I'm excited about that. I'm actually excited that the thing's getting built so I can rest, and just spend my time on the beach with Morgan, or whatever we get to do, whatever we get to do. But
Well,
yeah.
I told you before, we're probably gonna wrap this up because we're almost at 2 hours.
Mhm, mhm.
I told you before, I'd love to be a part of your network somehow, some
Yeah,
way. So, let me know how you would like to do that, and I will be a part of that, as
I
well as
got you.
doing.
You were on that email list, weren't you?
No, I didn't get anything. Did you send me
Uh,
something?
I'll have to check. I don't,
I don't think I didn't get
I'll
anything
have
unless it went into my spam.
well, we haven't done anything with it yet, but we're doing it this week. But
Okay.
like I'll probably kick something out here either tomorrow or Monday to get the ball rolling. But what we're looking for is people to come in. I mean, imagine you have 168 hours in a week. We got
Mhm.
people all over the world, and I'm inviting people to come in and create their own show.
Yeah.
What would you like to do? Something original, and it's original to the network. We'll then take those excerpts from that show, put them in the channel feed for anyone in the public to see with the app. And then if you subscribe, you get to watch the full lengths, and have access to the rest of
That's
it.
fantastic.
Yeah. So anyone
Yeah.
that would like to, to initiate or originate their own program. I mean, the whole idea is we're going to have a channel running 24 hours a day by the end of this month. And I've been talking about this for years, and it's finally happening. But the whole idea is just to keep going, and eventually you have a second channel and a third channel and a fourth channel and a fifth channel. Yeah.
This is already written. You already know this. This is
Right.
already existing. It's a matter of just tapping into what already exists. And this is already created. You just have lined up and stepped into every ladder spot that you were supposed to in your purpose and your truth. And it's unfolding, and now it's going to happen so quickly because the energy is so supportive of it. So, and that's how I feel with what I'm doing. It's like I don't think about it. It's just going to happen. It's just happening the way it's supposed to happen. And I want to take a second I know you don't like to take any thanks, but I'm going to take a second to thank you because you coming on my first show has meant a lot to me. And even when you jumped on my live that day, like that meant a lot to me. And like people need to realize, like, you're like really real. Like this isn't like a persona. Like the way that you are and the way that you speak is who you are. And everyone can be as authentic as you if they choose to. Everybody could live the way that you live. Everybody could give the way that you give. And I challenge my audience because I have an audience, and I just like you do. We both have audiences, and that's the world. And I challenge everyone that watches this to step up and be authentic to themselves and to be giving back all the time in as many ways as they can. And that's what you do. And that's why you afforded me to come on your show. And that's why you came on mine, because that's the kind of generous energy that you give, you serve, you constantly serve and give. And that's it. And that's recognized. That's why you're going to keep growing, and it's going to grow, and you're going to keep helping people because that's who you are. But it's, everyone else can be like that. Everyone else can do that in their own way, in their own purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think for a lot of us, probably all of us, it's not always been easy to accept gratitude and, just receive. But I can do that now. Like that's one thing that's occurred this year. I think we've grown a lot this year. But yeah, I don't, I think I kind of got over that hump in June because I was doing a show with my friend Sandra Walter. We hadn't done one in quite a while, almost 2 years. We just kept missing each other.
I love her. Yeah.
Yeah, she's amazing. I have tremendous amount of respect for her. I feel when we come together. But in this last time was a really powerful show. If any of your audience hasn't seen that show, it's an incredible show. And I'm not saying because I was on it, because it was there for her to talk. I didn't talk much till the end, but yeah, I feel like that. I forgot why I brought that up.
Gratitude. She's taught you. She helped you walk into that more.
We were talking, and I've always had this habit because I think the humility, you can't fake humility. I believe humility is something that you earn in these human incarnations. Part of what we do is expand the definition of the energy of humility, which I'm sure is tied to love and other things. But I've always had this, when I started the show way back, like it actually came from Morgan and I talking, having conversations every day from the day we met. And about 6 weeks into it, we're like, man, wouldn't it be great if we had a show where people could hear these conversations, which is exactly what happened. And by the way, in 2009, she put the prayer up to the universe for this platform. See, so there you go. She dreamed it. I caught the dream and I built it.
Speaking of her, good segue. If you could mention to her, and I'll definitely reach out. I'd really love to have her come on. I know she doesn't do a lot of shows. I know she's more private. I know she's very selective. and I understand and honor all that. But if she would like to come on, I would very much love for her to come on and speak with her because I feel a very strong kinship to her and her energy.
Yeah, I really feel that what's happened with this 777, because I'm very tapped into the mother and really through Morgan, who is another version of the mother, just like you're another version of the mother. She helped me to understand at a human level a lot of things in terms of the energetics. And so basically, this is a platform for the voice. Soulogy is a platform for the voices of the mother goddess in all of us. And I have seen the women primarily. I mean, it's all of us, but in the physical representation, it's primarily the women. You can just look at the communities and see that the demographics of it's been like that for years. They're starting to come up. Like the last couple of shows I did, both of them said the same thing. I don't want to be here, but my soul's nudging me. And it's time that they're coming out. So in terms of what you just requested, I will mention it to her. I don't think she's going to jump on it right now, but I can see her, and I've been telling her, and just recently told her, you're coming out. I mean, you're all coming out, and and you can. It's safe now. So I believe, and that's what I'm really here to do, is to support that whole idea and that whole reality, to reintroduce the mother's energy full fold into the energetic field. And obviously, with her being my divine feminine in the physical external, then that carries over to that. So I'm really excited. This thing with the Nephilim video, which was again just organic and wasn't anything planned, and then now we're going to have 2 group sessions. I think there's already 60 people that are participating. These sessions are, I mean, these group sessions that she's been doing for a couple of years are very, very powerful. They're basically group merges. They're not like a traditional guided meditation or activation. There's some talking at the front of it. We all go into the grid together and we merge, and then everybody kind of goes on their own trip. And then you get to the end of it and people talk about their experience, and it's amazing.
I'd like to join one,
You
definitely.
should, she's at zeropointing.com. She does 3 every week, the regular ones. And then right now there's 2 that are up there that they're specific to the Nephilim, the ending of the, this is the, and let me just say this, the whole thing about Nephilim, it's probably shouldn't have put that in the title, but that's how it came through. And I believe that probably was probably the right thing to do, but really it's what's attached to it. It's the addictions, the identities, voices in your head that really aren't us. It's the end of these contracts, and a few other things. It's a big one. It's the biggest thing I've seen in my 61 years. It's the biggest threshold that we've crossed, all of us. And so I really feel like that a lot of stuff is just going to fall away. A lot of the imagination running wild. Oh, Jill probably thinks this of me, or, she looked at me wrong, or, all that stuff is dying now. And so it's a cleaner environment. I'm really excited about the rest of this year. And, but yeah, if anyone's interested in checking that out, it's zeropointing.com. And Jill's right. She's very quiet with her approach. But there's a lot of stuff to dig into there, and it's very, her stuff is like very reasonable. I mean, like $11, maybe $22, $12. I mean, she has a lot of meditations.
Definitely.
She has a lot of really good, like, I don't know, probably 30, 40 different scenarios, and they're subjects that you don't always see. And it's a different.
She's powerful. I feel her very deeply.
Yeah,
without
I've seen her. I know she's powerful. I've seen her shapeshift into, not just that night. I seen her shapeshift into a dragon. I woke up one day, we were in Hawaii, and I went to the mirror, like we were gonna go out, and she's like, "Where did you get that scratch on your back? It looks like a dragon claw." And I'm like, that was from you last night. Like I saw her arm like go like that.
Wow.
I've seen her turn into like an Egyptian kind of like I want to say like a canine humanoid, but it was a priestess. I've seen her turn into one of them blue Indian goddesses. One time, well, this is a funny story I'll tell you real quick. We had a divine union ceremony in New Jersey in 2018. We got married in a spiral. And again, it was very spontaneous. It was amazing. 100 people showed up in the middle of nowhere and all these galactics and all this crazy stuff, right?
Wow.
So we were staying with some friends. And again, I'm a hobo and at the time. So we go to a Red Roof Inn. We go to a Red Roof Inn for 3 or 4 nights in the middle of a rough, not a greatest area in the world, right? And I guess that was kind of our honeymoon, I guess. I don't know. And so I think we were there like the first night. And I remember she laid her head on my chest, or like she might have crooked her arm like that. And she started changing. And what it was like all her aspects were showing their, or, expressing their love to me. Well, the last one was, it was Callie. It was like, I'm not gonna say it was Callie, but it was Callie-esque. Half
Yes.
her face went black, half went white, and then this tongue
Whoa.
flopped out. This tongue flops about like that.
Whoa.
And I was like, holy crap, but at a soul level, I'm getting it all. Like it's a beautiful thing. And again, we've been doing this for eons. I can't
Right.
tell you how many lives we've had. I don't even know. I have no idea. I mean, I have, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, so the next day I get up and I'm feeling pretty good. We're gonna go somewhere or something. And I'm, I think I got my pants on and I just took a shower and I walk over to I'm walking over to the where they hang the clothes. And those in those cheap hotels, how they have the hangers and they got the little rivet on them and you
Yeah.
put them in the hole, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I said to her as I'm walking away from the bed and she's probably sitting there getting dressed or whatever. And I said, oh yeah, you turned into Callie last night. Your tongue was down to here. And I made some remark, right? And she said, you better watch it. Like, are you making fun of me? You better watch it. Like, so this stuff is like really, for a lot of the feminine, it's much more familiar than it is to a lot of the men, right? Like I'm organic. I want to go out and talk to the grandfather rocks or
Mm-hmm.
to the water, the mother, or whatever. I'm right there. I can do it all. The lightning. I mean, I can make, but when
Mm-hmm.
it comes to these events like this, it's taken me a while. So this was still kind of early on. So she said that to me, and she's like, that's what she said. Are you being a smart ass? And I'm like, oh no, of course I was. So I go to grab my shirt and I pull it off, I just pull it off of the hanger because I'm so cool. And the hanger came out of the rivet and it just starts turning in the air and lands right on my pinky toe, like somebody shot a bullet through it. Oh my God. And I said, and I was like, I said, did you do that? She goes, I don't know.
She did.
I don't know,
She
you know?
did.
Uh,
Well, it's
yeah,
funny, like instant manifestation. I mean, the power of a woman. I mean, the power of any human, but like the power of a woman.
it's the mother. It's the mother.
Yep. The
And now
power of
that,
mother.
yeah, and now that the mother's energy has been brought back to the wholeness, you know, she told me when you love the mother as she loves you, then we're there. And that's where I believe we're at. So I believe as a result of that, we're going to see many of her own begin to really illuminate. And that's something that nothing in the patriarchal, nothing in this world can contend with. I don't give a damn what it is. I don't care if it's a whole battalion of 500 1 mile long Draco reptilian ships, because with the mother, everything's been brought to a central point. Everybody gets fed, everybody gets loved, even the ones that don't like each other and such, so I think it's going to be an incredible year because of, women like her, like you, and many others that are stepping up now. And the last thing I'll say too, which is speaking to what's happening, I can't tell you how many messages and comments that I've gotten and that she's gotten where people are saying, I'm getting the same thing in their own way.
Mm-hmm.
Kalina Malnar sent me a message this morning telling me that. I can't off the top of my head think, but these are people that are out there. I saw Gigi Young on YouTube talking about the same thing, in a different way. but so it's a
Yeah,
good,
I
it's a
like
good,
her. I've
yeah,
seen Gigi. I like her. She's very, very in depth, very
yeah, yeah,
she's her videos are very long and very in depth,
yeah.
and it's a tremendous amount of information that she gives in her videos.
I know. I've been trying to get in contact with her to get her on the show, but I haven't found out a way to do it.
Oh, really? Yeah, she's incredible. That would be a fantastic
I've only
guest.
seen her on one show one time. I don't know if
And
she,
you
I
know
know.
what? That's what makes it special. I
Mhm.
like that. That's
Yeah,
that's that's the next level because a
yeah,
lot of people that just travel in circuits.
yeah.
I'd love to see you get Mateus.
Again, I've tried, but I can't, I've even have a couple of friends that have had him way back, and I haven't been able to get anyone to get, I think him and I would be, I, I, I don't really put a lot of stock. I gather a lot of information. I think that's one reason I like Gigi, Young, because, she's both intuitive and connected and self-sourcing, but she also does a lot of research.
Oh, tremendous.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I can relate to that. And but Mateus De Stefano, there's certain things that he says that I saw, as I was going through my own journey. And I just have a feeling that
Oh yeah,
I have a feeling it'll happen.
that would be a
Yeah.
tremendous connection. He was just on Danica's show, and
Hmm.
I watched it, and I actually posted on my meditation group page because I felt like there was some really key messages
Yeah.
that he was giving in that
Yeah.
particular conversation. But yeah, I feel like he's kind of, in my opinion, the next level of
Yeah.
what humans are. Like he's so like authentic and
Yeah.
everything he speaks about, like, even though to a lot of people it's like, whoa, that's wild, that's crazy, but like it's real, like it's reality, like he's just tapped into it, whereas
Well,
other
I mean,
people are not.
he's in his heart. And I will
Hmm.
say this, my brother who transitioned in October 2021, Franco Di Nicola, same level. Same
Oh,
level. Yeah.
Franco
Just
is my absolute favorite. I knew
yeah.
we were going to bring him up again because he actually, like, I would actually think it would be cool if you could get his son on. I know you work with his wife, but
Hmm.
I feel like his son is
Mark.
also connected to my meditation group page, and
Yeah.
I actually wanted to have him on because
I think he'd
I
be
feel
good.
like I
Yeah.
think he's very connected to his dad still. Very,
Yeah.
very connected to
Yeah.
his
Oh
dad.
yeah. He would be, and I know some inside information there. But yeah. And so we're gonna take the 200 and some odd hours of Franco's and Kimberly's
You were
last
saying
collaborate.
that before,
Yeah,
yeah.
we're gonna put that's gonna be on the network. One of the first things that goes up. So and I think what we'll
Do you,
probably do
do
is have
you
like a
think him
weekly
and
show. Hmm?
do you think him and Kimberly are going to come to Soulology for the festival?
Kimberly is for sure. And now that you bring this up about Mark, I'm thinking I want to do a weekly. We used to have a show. We did 52 shows with Franco,
Hmm.
and he was as much Soulogy as anybody else. He was kind of the feature at the first
Oh,
Soulogy Fest.
yeah, he
Yeah,
was he I miss him.
yeah, me
All I
too.
have to say is I just miss
He
him.
pops in with me now and then. But the thing is I'd like to have, because we used to have him on Fridays, and I just call it Franco Friday. We'd have him
Hmm.
on every 2 weeks, and
Hmm.
for a couple of years. And so I'd like to have Franco Friday and either and co-host it with Kimberly, or have Kimberly host it, and then or maybe Mark, I don't really know, but one thing I have learned about this is that we can't force anything. There's a real organic nature to this new way. Not only is it spontaneous, but it's also very organic. And I think that's the part about, I'm reading Robert Frost right now, who's been one of my favorite poets since I was a kid. And he
Yeah,
has
I like him too.
yeah, he has this play that he wrote about Job. And in that play, Job and God are having a conversation, but this is post Job's, biblical adventure, right? And it's really interesting, the way that Robert Frost writes from God's perspective about the patience of Job. So it just took on a new meaning. I just read that this morning when I was kind of preparing my day. And so Yeah.
I love your poems too, like in your writings. If you ever want to share anything on my meditation group page, I would honor you to throw something on there now and then.
What's the name of it?
So Morgan's actually a part of my meditation group page. It's called Meditation at 414 Street. Yep. So I invited you before, so I'll invite you again.
Let me
But
see.
it's about 300 of my closest peeps, and I personally add everyone. So it's a private group. So it's not like people just don't add and add and add and add and just it's like it's people that I actually have a real connection with. So yeah. And actually Mark DiNicola is on it.
What's the name of it again?
It's called Meditation at 414 Street. I'll I
I
don't know
got
if
it.
you'll be able to did you find it?
Oh,
If
let
you
me
don't,
see.
I'll just send you an invite.
Yeah, send me an invite because it's
Yeah,
oh,
because
is that
Morgan actually is
meditation at 414? Is
Street.
that right? Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. First Street. Yeah.
Yep.
Join group. Okay. Oh, there it
Yeah,
is.
I've invited you. So did you just join it?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Awesome. So
Yep.
just every now and then throw some of your writing on there because it's profound. And as you know, I don't have to tell you, there's codes on there for people.
Oh, of
And
course.
so if
Yeah,
they
of
read
course.
that, it can open them in ways that they might not have been opened. So
Oh, yeah.
I would love it if you did that. And actually like maybe like a few months down the road after I get like a lot of people coming through, I want to have you back.
Yeah,
And then
cool.
we could talk again and like see where you're at, see where I'm at. And if there's anybody that you think that would fit for an interview with me and you want to throw my way, send me a message.
Just my recommendation is do what everybody else has done over the years. They just go down the list of our shows, and you know what I mean? I mean,
Mhm.
and I think that's great. I think that's the way it should be. Like we've done 74 shows on the new platform.
Whoa, already?
Yeah,
Wow.
already any of those people, or any of those people. I
Okay.
mean, there's
Yeah.
just it's such a diversity. So yeah, I think it's a good place to look for people. Even if you
Yeah.
go to the old Soulogy One Studios YouTube,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
there's about 2,500
I
or
mean,
3,000.
I have a bunch of my own people and
Yeah,
I'm definitely going to bring them on. Like I have a ton of connections with a
yeah,
ton of
yeah,
different people doing a ton of different wonderful things, but I'd like to broaden it and
yeah.
you know, I like
It's
there's a
smart,
bunch of people I got like I don't know, like 15 or 1600, you know, Facebook friends that
right?
I'm connected to. So I definitely have a bunch of connects to bring
Yeah.
people through, but you know, it's
The,
kind of nice when people connect you and they, oh, you know, this
yeah.
person, that person, and
Well,
it's just like,
there's so many people, and I do get hit a lot with it. And what I also get hit a lot with is people will go, I saw you need to go, you know, get this person on, and I'm all for it, but and I'm like, well, do you know him? No, I don't. Here's his email. Well, I mean, it's just it's a lot of work, and
no,
that's one of
I
the
know, like
that
you got enough, like,
no, what I'm
you,
just saying, like what you're going to find is, and this is one of the messages I want to give to these, what I'm calling producers, um, that are going to come in and originate their own programming, is what it really takes. It takes a lot of
yeah,
energy, it takes a lot of time, and I've helped a lot of people over the years start their own,
yeah,
and I tell them, I always tell them it's going to go like this, right? They always come, they shoot out of the, you know, the cannon, and then they kind of like reality sets in, and that's when the real work starts. So you just
yeah.
plug away, just, you know, I always tell people like 1 or 2 a week, you know, just
That's
whatever
what
you,
I think
yeah,
that my goal right now is 2 a week. One with a person that I'm connected to, like a friend of mine that is a strong female that you know, I'm gonna invite her on weekly. And then I'm gonna have one like, guest every week. So I figure that's a good
that's
starting
good.
point.
Yeah. And I always tell people, you know, you can always add, but it's kind of an energetic, you can overcome it, but if you pull back, it's kind of like a, you know, it does take some momentum away. So yeah, I think whatever you commit to, you commit to that every week, and you work it. And it in this environment now, it's not going to take long. And I think as far as like guest, um, I don't, it just depends, because there's such a, I've always done it from pretty much from a intuitive, you know, this just happened, and there's no science to it,
No,
but one
I
thing,
don't, I'm
yeah,
not gonna get weird about it. I'm never
yeah,
gonna change the way it's gonna be a
yeah,
guided thing. Like, oh, I feel like this person,
right,
would have
exactly.
something. This person would have
Exactly.
something. It's
I
never,
could think of so many people that would complement what you're doing. That's why I said you're probably better off just going to the network, because if you go down the network, I do a write-up on every show. So you don't
Mhm.
have to open it and listen to it. You can look at the person, you can see their energy in the picture, you can get a little
Yeah,
description.
that's what I'll
And
do.
yeah,
I'll do
because
that.
it's such a wide kind of thing, but I do think that's a great thing to do, which is what we did. Or and Morgan really really kind of expanded in the summer of 2018 when she came in on her second trip and we got married, and she said, we're going to do this, let's effing do it. And so back then we were doing, it was not uncommon for us to be doing 6 and 7 shows a day. This
Yeah,
we yeah, I think
that's
one year,
wow.
there was one year where I see, there was a year where we did, I would say, almost, I'd say about 900 shows in one year. Yeah, we were just
Wow.
killing it, and living out of a car basically. It was pretty wild.
Well,
But what
I'm
she would
impressed.
do is what you're talking about. She would go out and find high frequency, uh, particularly high frequency females that hadn't really stepped up, that had a community.
Mhm.
And it's a beautiful thing because they come on,
Merging. Yep.
and people from Soulogy find them and vice versa. And so I think that's a really good way to do it. But yeah,
Yeah.
anything I can do, I'll be glad to come back on. I'll talk to her, and I'm gonna talk to her right now. And
Oh, thank
and
you. Awesome.
yeah,
I look forward to it. I'm super
yeah,
excited.
yeah.
Well, I think with that said, we're gonna jump off here, but stay in touch, jump on my page whenever you want. And I'm ready. I'll look for that email about doing something on the network.
Yeah,
I'll look for that
yeah, I
email.
have you on the list. I just have,
Okay. I wonder
it's
if I
probably,
didn't get it, or I'll look
uh,
again, but send it
well,
again.
I only sent one out, and I was working on, I have 2 lists.
Okay.
And I have to go. Anyway, I'm on it. You'll get
Okay.
it. You'll get it.
All right.
All right.
All
Thank you
right.
so
Well, thank
much.
you,
I
Todd
appreciate you.
Medina.
Mhm. Thank you so
God
much.
bless. Talk to you soon.
Okay.